I don't know who this guy is, or I don't know the name Josh Denny, but apparently he was this sort of comedian that had a show where he would go across the country eating. So I'll just read this if it's small across the screen. It's not super long. He says, I've been reflecting on this lately as somebody asked why my criticisms of modern women seem to have so much contempt. Who does that sound like, Rich? And it didn't take long to figure out why. I've been in the unique position of having temporary fame and the perception of wealth and success. When I had a hit TV show for a couple of years, even just a small one on cable, the way that women treated me was catastrophically different. They all of a sudden didn't care that I was fat or ginger or foul-mouthed or had controversial opinions. The idea that I was potentially in a position that could change their life with no effort from them simply by offering to lay down under me was all it took. Women who had been in my life merely as friends started treating me differently. They were more flirtatious, and many went acting like sleeping together was an absurdity to straight asking how I'd like them to suck my D. I was even in a long-term relationship at the time, but they didn't care. They still shot their shot. When it went away overnight, I'm guessing he means by his fame and success, so did they. I got to see firsthand the rise and fall and learn that who I was, who I am, didn't matter in the slightest. I didn't have to quote unquote improve myself at all. I just had to be someone of value in their minds. I didn't become more handsome or more charismatic. I was the exact same person. The reason so many women were offended by Donald Trump saying they'll let you grab them by the pee when you're famous was because that's exactly who most women are. I know it's not all women are like that. But imagine how hard it is for a modern man to want to work on himself spiritually, physically, emotionally, when at the end of the day, he knows that he'll always lose to a richer gargoyle. He continues a couple of replies in the comments, like Tate commented on this. If you're a woman and you're offended by this because you're the kind of woman I'm talking about, I've done the work on myself and it didn't matter. And a lot of great discussion. I don't feel women are a lost cause, but there is criteria that's non-negotiable in defining good ones, which I don't agree with. She must fear and answer to God. She must love and respect her father. That's good. She must have lived a purpose beyond herself. I'll take one out of those three. I don't think one or three really matter. And then I think the only thing else that I saw, maybe that he had a poignant point, talked about security. When I was in a 12 years relationship, when she gained weight, I was expected to be loyal and faithful because it's commitment. When I gained weight, she was expected to immediately find a better suitor because she did behind my back, and she lied to me when confronted. So I think there's certainly some truth to this, but this seems a little bit doomer in my opinion. I mean, look, like we know that women love men of status. We know that women love men that are popular or that are above the rest. And women, there was a comment in there he made where it's like women love to be above their friends. They like to be with the high status guy because that automatically raises their status, which is true. Like I remember I would see back in like the dating app days when I was on those swiping apps, it's just like, oh, my favorite activity is going out to eat. I like going to fancy restaurants. And it's not because they like food. It's not because they have a palate that's like, the foie gras here is excellent. It's because they want to be able to take pictures at high status places because their status is tied to whoever they're dating at the particular time. But this guy is just talking about one aspect. It's not about just the money. Like what he's talking, he starts to conflate it at the end. If there's an ugly dude that's got more money than you, we've seen over and over, there's very attractive guys out there with money that get raked over the coals by women all the time. So like I was with him on some of it. I don't agree with a lot of it. I don't care about the God-fearing stuff. I think I've been pretty open and honest and clear about that. The father thing, obviously, as we've learned through dozens of Ladies' Nights episodes at this point, is absolutely bang on, dead accurate. And a purpose bigger than herself, I guess if kids becomes that, but but by saying that, this is how I know this guy fundamentally doesn't understand female nature, because we know the solipsism of women not being able to see past their nose. Everything is a survival mechanism. Their entire world is what's 6 inches in front of their face at any given time. And I didn't say this, and I'll just do a quick aside. So that woman that we did the show on, or that DM'd me saying that she was like, hope our channel gets kicked off, or she, that I said women didn't have podcasts. She said I was inciting violence or hate against a group. We basically made fun of some beauty woman.
It's funny because I just did a podcast this afternoon on a woman's channel, but yeah.
We made fun of some beautician lady way back in the day. I think when Jaren was still on the channel, and she's like, "I hope you know all of you." I'm like, "What? Oh
Oh
no,
no, I
what?"
won't be able to sleep at night.
So Emily, if you're watching, I hope you're watching. I would love for you to come on the show. I told her to come on ladies' night, and then she started hemming and hawing. But you have an open invite if you want to come on and you want to challenge what we say. But either way, women love men of status. That is a surefire way to become more attractive in a woman's eyes. Start an organization, be the head of something. That's something that's sort of lost, like be an organizer. I remember when I was, and I don't want to get too personal on the show, but early 20s, right out of college, I started working for a professional sports team, and I was working training camp for them before the season started. And I was in charge of 150 volunteers. I had to staff the entire camp. I had to tell people what stations to work at. I had to rotate them, make sure they were getting their breaks. I had captains with walkies. I was a 22-year-old kid in charge of like 150 adults. And I remember hearing, like, later people would tell me, like, oh, like, all the old ladies are always talking about you, or like, oh, they think you're so hot, or this and that and the other. And I was like, whatever. But it was because I was in that position of authority, in that position of status. So it really doesn't take a ton. Become a local, front man of a band, or start a local organization, or do something where you become a leader of people or a leader of men, like, because that's what they're hardwired to look at. But don't sit there and tell me that being a fat ass and somebody that doesn't care about their appearance and the way they look just because they have deep pockets is the answer to getting women. So there's definitely some, it's like red pill adjacent kind of black pill stuff in that. I would say probably half of it is useful.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing to add. Status is status, man. Chicks dig status. If you're influential, if you're important, they flock to you. There was that story of that footballer. What was his name? I can't remember his name. Messier. Anyway, there was a footballer, and he's very popular. He's known in the circles. Relatively handsome guy. There's a guy that looked kind of like him, and apparently he duped a whole bunch of women on dating apps, coming across and implying that he was him. And they all slept with him, and they found out in hindsight that he obviously wasn't that guy, and were very upset and had buyer's remorse and wanted to do all kinds of.
I don't know where it is now.
He wasn't that guy.
Yeah. I don't know where it is now, but I saw this across, I don't know where I saw this, but it was some guy put on like a UFC branded t-shirt and some sunglasses and was walking around like a casino in Vegas. And he had just some like just a random guy. And he had some photographers with him. He had kind of like an entourage. He had two guys in front, two guys behind, kind of flanked. And girls were just all over him trying to take pictures with him. They're like, oh my God, like, I can't wait to see your fight. Like, dude, if you've got $500 to spare, or maybe even a little less, like, that'd be a fun experiment to try out. Like, see, it just, I mean, and they like, yeah, they don't know you. They just see people following you around, and they're attracted to it. There's nothing else to say, but that does not mean that all of your self-improvement efforts are in vain, and you should not lose weight, and you should not be in shape, and you should not learn how to speak properly and eloquently, and all of these other things that we talk about. So don't just focus on one thing. It's like the kind of guys that think we only say get rich and nothing else matters. That money, like, just be rich and have a bunch of money, women will fall at your feet. Like, we're constantly mischaracterized because we've never said that. And it's clearly, you can see cases like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Tom Brady. Like, when it comes to, you can make an argument for Elon, but for some of these guys, like, money doesn't cure beta. Like, fortune doesn't cure beta tendencies. And we've seen that play out.
Oh, richest guy in the world is is going to be taken to court from a mid-level thought, like a TriCon thought. Dude. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here, where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.